guys, Renata Sandor here from MeetAdvisors.com, and I'm joined with Jenna Benn Shersher, founder of Twist Stop Cancer. How are you today?
I'm great, thanks. How are you?
I'm doing very well. Thank you for taking your time and coming out here. So I wanted to start off this video segment asking you, who are you? What do you do? What is Twist Stop Cancer?
So, who am I? I am Jenna. I'm 32. I'm originally from Chicago. I work full-time at the Anti-Defamation League, which is a civil rights organization founded here in Chicago 100 years ago. But in my nights, in my weekends, in my early mornings, and my lunch breaks, I work on Twist Stop Cancer. Twist Stop Cancer is a nonprofit that provides psychosocial support to cancer survivors and their loved ones. We do that online, we do that in person. It's really a celebration of creativity and figuring out ways to give back and provide support.
And what was your inspiration? Why did you start Twist Stop Cancer?
It was unexpected. So when I was 29 in 2010, I was diagnosed with a rare type of cancer called gray zone lymphoma, which at the time only affected 300 other people in the United States. So there was very little research, very little information about my disease, and I sort of took it upon myself to say, you know what, I'm going to write my own story. So I started blogging. And as I started blogging while I was going through treatment and dealing with all of the sort of unique issues that confront a young adult cancer survivor, particularly with a rare type of cancer, I started learning a lot about blogging, and I had really a pretty tremendous following in a short period of time. And on the one hand, where that provided tremendous support, it also was quite isolating because I was seeing these statistics rising, these numbers of people that were reading pretty intimate details about my life that I was willingly putting out there.
Mm-hmm.
But I wanted to know who they were. I wanted to know who was a part of my journey. And so midway through treatment, when I was feeling, you know, I was immunosuppressed, so I had no immune system. I couldn't go outside. I couldn't be around the people that I loved and cared about. I decided that I was going to change the rules and I was going to bring them to me. And so I videotaped myself doing the twist. Chubby Checker's the twist. A lot of people, when I say the twist, I mean, my generation knows, but I think anyone younger than me is like, what's the twist and who's Chubby Checker? But he was sort of an idol of mine because I grew up with my dad sort of educating me about music from the 1950s and 60s. It was sort of a pastime, a fun pastime that we shared together. Mm-hmm. And so in thinking about it, I couldn't figure out a dance move that I could do because I physically wasn't able to do the Running Man or, you know, the Roger Rabbit. I mean, that was like too much exertion for me. So the twist, I felt like, okay, I can get up and I can go like this.
Yeah.
So I videotaped myself doing the twist and I said, who's joining me on the dance floor? And within a couple days, I had thousands of people from around the world that were twisting out cancer. And so that's how it started. It was this really weird idea, desperate idea, you know, alone in my room. And after I finished treatment, I felt this sort of overwhelming sense of gratitude. And I really wanted to figure out a way to find meaning in all of the suffering and meaning in the experience that I just had. So I started to think about it, and I'm like, okay, I've got a master's degree in social enterprise and administration. I've worked in nonprofits my whole life. Maybe I need to really listen to this and figure out how is there a way to make a bigger impact with what just has happened to me. So initially I was going around the country to different cancer survivor groups. They have walks and parades and all different kinds of events. And so initially I was traveling around and I was sharing my story and I was leading groups and twisting out cancer. And that was wonderful and it was beautiful, but it still wasn't enough for me. So then I started really talking to as many people as I could that I felt like could offer guidance. Johnny Immerman being one of them, founder of Immerman Angels, and other people that were sort of in my network that I felt like had different skill sets than I had and had either started something, whether it was a startup or been involved in nonprofits or had started a small business. So I just started talking with them and saying, how can I take this experience and this sort of unbelievable thing that has happened, this movement that's been created really out of nothing, and how do I translate that into a nonprofit? And so that's how it started. And that was back in October of 2011 was when we officially became incorporated. And it took us a while to figure out our mission and our focus and our structure. And so as of March of this year, we officially became a nonprofit.
Yay!
You know? So it's been exciting. It's been a really pretty amazing journey, just in terms of dealing with my own survivorship, but also figuring out a meaningful way to give back to the community.
And what has been some of the hardships that you've gone through trying to build Twist Out Cancer?
So, I mean, I think for me, I had worked in nonprofits, and I knew sort of how to do basic things. I knew how to plan events. I knew how to run programs. I knew how to create budgets. So the basic things that you need, obviously, to sustain yourself.
Mm-hmm.
But in terms of building something from the ground up, I think one big challenge is I didn't want Twist to only be synonymous with my story.
Okay.
My intention was really to try and shed light on other survivors' stories and other survivors' twists on cancer. And for so long, people were always just identifying me with Twist. And I've been really trying to figure out creative ways to showcase those other stories, because they are just as important, if not more important. So figuring out how do you become a figurehead and not be the only thing that people know. I don't want them only to think of me as synonymous with Twist. I want other people to be sort of sharing that spotlight with me. So that's a challenge. And I think, you also feel like, okay, I'm in the nonprofit space. I've got a cancer-focused organization. You sort of have this sense of that everyone that you're going to work with is going to be trustworthy and is going to be good and well-intentioned. And there have been a couple of times where I've had to really put a business hat on and realize that there are a lot of people out there that unfortunately see this as a nice opportunity to take advantage. And so I've had to learn the hard way. Yeah. Early on, I made a couple of sort of bad business decisions where, some of the money that I had saved while I was sick, I invested in, creating a website, and that process of sort of starting that up and working with the right developers and getting the right team behind you, that took a little bit of doing and figuring out. But just because we're in the nonprofit space doesn't mean that we can't think like we're, starting a business. So we have to be very strategic about who we partner with and who we work with and think things through. And, finding that team of people that are going to be able to support you is pretty important. Also, figuring out what you have the resources to pay for and what you could start asking for other people to help partner with you on. Those are kind of the important things. I think also figuring out your priorities. Like, we want to do so many things, but we can't do everything all at once. So taking that energy and that enthusiasm and that drive and really targeting specific things and making sure we're really good at a couple of things as opposed to trying to do everything at once.
Yeah. And kind of going off of your hardships, what do you feel is your greatest accomplishment?
I have to say, this came sort of unexpectedly also, was Brushes with Cancer. So Brushes with Cancer is a 4-month program where we match artists with survivors. And we do that where we have survivors share their twist on cancer. So a twist on cancer is lessons learned, fighting strategies, new perspectives. They put that online, and that then inspires the conversation with their matched artists. So we strategically match the two of them. These are two strangers that otherwise would never have intersected. And over the 4-month period, we sort of guide their relationship. We make sure that they're checking in regularly, either via Skype, on the phone, or in person. And then the artist is charged with creating a unique piece of artwork that's reflective of the cancer survivor's journey or twist on cancer. So it's this beautiful sort of process in friendship that occurs, and then we have this huge celebratory event where the artwork is auctioned, it's revealed for the first time. A lot of times the artists and the survivors are really meeting for the first time at the event, so that's a really powerful experience. It's just big celebration of storytelling and survivorship, and just really celebrating life in general. It's beautiful. So that was a huge accomplishment in the sense that it came because it happened unexpectedly. It was inspired by another gray zone lymphoma survivor who had put herself out there on our website, and her challenge to the viewers was, I'm an artist, I've lost my creativity, create a piece of artwork not using the shade of gray. Because that's all she was saying. She had gray zone lymphoma, it was just gray all the time. And we saw that we had artwork that was created from all over the world that was inspired by her. Strangers were creating, murals in Switzerland and sculptures in Harlem, and there were art exhibitions in Toronto and all of these other cities, and we saw the power of connecting people online and how we can support people that we may not otherwise have known. There's a lot of ways that we can provide support for cancer survivors as they're going through treatment. Whether you're a close friend, whether you're a caregiver, whether you're a a stranger on the other side of the world. So what we've now decided to do intentionally is that all of the programs that we do in the community are inspired by what's happening online. And so because Anna put herself out there and put out that challenge, we saw that she had the power to inspire so many more people. So by sharing her story and by sharing her twist on cancer, the world really opened up to her. And you sort of have no idea how many other people you're going to affect when you actually open up and put yourself out there. So to me, Brushes has been an amazing accomplishment, and being able to see people connect in a way that they otherwise wouldn't have, that's something I'm really proud of, and it's growing. I mean, so we've done it now 2 years in Chicago. We're doing it again in Chicago in April, and then we're also launching it in Tel Aviv in Israel. We're also doing it in Detroit and Toronto. So in 2015, we're going to be really busy with Brushes of Cancer.
Yes. And you mentioned before we started that you do other events as well during the year. So how many events do you do? Can you give our audience a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, I'd say we're doing something, some type of community outreach. We also do a whole series of educational programs and workshops in the community where we bring Twist to life, where we get people engaged with the survivors that are on our site, and we have them, we lead discussions about the importance of providing psychosocial support to cancer survivors. We get them involved in the creative process of responding to a survivor's challenge. So we do events like that. So for example, this month alone, in July, I've got 2 health and wellness events that I've partnered with Equinox on, and they're doing like a whole week of incredible events that are helping to go raising awareness towards Twist, and we're also raising some money for the nonprofit. So I've got that. So that's a series of events, and then I'm also leading 2 workshops up at different camps in Wisconsin.
Okay.
So, I mean, that's a pretty busy month, but I would say on average, like 1 to 2 times a month, we've got different programs happening in the community.
And what is that one piece of advice that you would give to our community of entrepreneurs on MeetAdvisors.com?
I think, it's always easier to look back in retrospect and say, oh, I wish I had done this, and how would I have done this differently? I think the key takeaway is figuring out who's in your corner. So go through your Rolodex and think about, okay, who are your friends? Who are your family members? Who are your, more distant contacts that you have that could be helpful to you? And have so many meetings ahead of time, because once you start to build it, it's hard to turn your back on it, right? So you want to make sure you're laying a really good foundation from the beginning and figuring out who's in your corner. And I also think, for me, this was a passion project. This came out of a really dark place, and it really initially was started and created by friends and family members that had sort of shepherded me through cancer. And so they were the ones that were super involved in the beginning, and as we've grown and evolved, they're still involved, but we have a whole new crop of people that are involved now that have been impacted by Twist. And so I think recognizing that the people that are initially in your corner and the ones that are helping you build may not be the ones that are there for you in the long run, and you have to sort of be okay with that. Yeah.
All right. And what's your website? So where can people find out more about Twist Out Cancer?
twistoutcancer.org. Pretty easy. We're also on Facebook and on Twitter and Pinterest and all the different social media platforms, so you can find us. And we're pretty active, I will say. We're regularly blogging, and we've got a lot of new content that we're putting up daily, definitely on Facebook and Twitter. So follow us.
Great. Guys, check out twistoutcancer.org and check out MeetAdvisors.com for more videos and blogs. Thanks, guys.